Imagine waking up before sunrise. It is cold, dark, almost no food left. You step outside and look at the field. Then you look at your children. Your wife, your aging parents. One thought hits you harder than hunger. If the harvest fails again, you will not just be poor, you will become a debtor. In the ancient world, debt was not a number. It was not a message from a bank. It was not a warning. Debt could take your house, your land, your children. Sometimes it could take you, and this is where everything becomes frightening. Humans invented a promise, and from that moment on, the future was no longer completely free. Today, we think debt is normal. A mortgage, a car loan, a credit card, a payment plan, a small loan until the next paycheck. It feels modern. It feels ordinary. But remove the banks, the apps, the plastic cards, and the polished words. What remains is something extremely ancient. Fear of tomorrow. Debt was not born from luxury. It was born from shortage. From hunger. From failed crops. From the moment a person needed to survive today. Even if tomorrow would cost more than expected. But the strangest part begins next. The first debts did not look like money. In ancient Mesopotamia, a person could borrow grain, barley, silver, animals, sometimes even seeds to plant the field. At first, it was simple. If one person had a surplus, he could give something to the person who had nothing. But then came the question, what exactly must be returned? The same amount? More? When? Who will remember? Who will witness it? And then appeared a small piece of clay, a tablet. On it were signs, names, amounts, dates, interest, witnesses, seals. At first glance, it was just a record. But in reality, it was dangerous, because a human memory could be challenged. Words could be denied, but clay remembered. And that is what changed everything. Picture a small village. One farmer has a good harvest. Another loses almost everything to drought. The first gives. The second a sack of grain, not only out of kindness. Not for nothing. He gives it with a condition. When spring comes, you will return more. And if the next harvest is good, the story ends peacefully. But if the next harvest fails, the debt begins to grow. Not because the farmer is lazy, not because he is dishonest, but because nature does not care if you are ready to pay. The rain may not come, the river may flood, insects may destroy the field, a child may get sick, an ox may die, and then debt changes. It stops being help. It becomes a trap. But that is only half the story. The terrifying part was not simply that a man owed grain. The terrifying part was that debt tied itself to his future. Before debt, a person feared hunger. After debt, he began to fear time. Every day pushed him closer to the payment date. Every sack of grain no longer fully belonged to his family. Every part was already divided. This is for food. This is for seeds. This is for the children. And this belongs to the person I owe, if there was not enough. The darkest part began. In the ancient world, debt could move from things to bodies, to labor, to families. A man could work off a debt. His children could be taken into dependency. His wife could end up in the household of the creditor. Not always forever. Not everywhere but the idea itself was horrifying. If you had nothing left to give, you gave yourself. Now imagine the worst. You borrow grain to save your family from starvation. You tell yourself, I will return it after the harvest. But the harvest never comes. The interest grows. The creditor returns. Then he returns again. At first, he speaks calmly. Then his voice becomes colder. Then he is no longer asking. He is demanding, and at some point, you realize something. You are no longer working for life. You are working for the past. For the day you accepted that sack of grain. For the choice that once felt like survival, but now feels like a chain. And this is where debt became more than economics. It became psychology. Humans began to live not only in the present, and not only for the future. They began to live under the power of yesterday's promise. That matters. Debt is not just, I owe you. Debt is a way of making a person remember, feel shame, feel fear, plan ahead, obey. It turns time into a cage. You eat bread today. But somewhere in your mind, a voice says, you must pay it back. You look at your child, and you are thinking, what if my debt takes his future too? But then comes the part nobody talks about. Debt helped build civilization. Yes, it is true. Without debt, records, and promises, large cities may have grown much more slowly. Temples and palaces stored grain. Merchants traveled to distant lands. Farmers received seeds. Caravans crossed deserts. People could do things no single family could do alone. Debt created trust between people who were not relatives. That almost sounds beautiful, but every civilization has a shadow. The shadow of debt was enormous. Whoever controlled the records controlled memory. Whoever controlled interest controlled the future. A sword does not make a person obedient every morning, but fear can. Ancient rulers understood the danger of debt when debt grew too long. Farmers lost land. Families broke apart. People ran away. Armies weakened. A city could look rich on tablets and be dying in real life. Sometimes rulers declared debt cleanups. This was not only mercy, it was survival. Too little debt, trade slows down. Too much debt, society begins to break. This was one of civilization's first great conflicts. Between help and trap. Between trust and control. Between the future and slavery. It only became modern today. We do not use clay tablets. We use screens. There is a notification. You see a number, a payment, a due date, a balance. Ancient cold returns. A part of my future already belongs to someone else. You owe. The oldest sound of civilization is a quiet whisper written into clay. You owe.